do you play any Dota? I don't know, actually. You never really talked about it.
No, I mean, I've never really like the game that I was in when I was growing up was mainly like StarCraft. So so I didn't actually do that.
No Dota at all?
No, unfortunately, no.
Good for you.
But oh, good for me. Okay.
Yeah. You're lucky.
Okay, so I think the best way to start this off is just play a game or two to get some idea of where you're at, because one of the most important things when I do give lessons is to try not say explain things that are too advanced or are too basic. So the thing I found, and I don't know if this is relatable in like Dota or even in other games that people play, but if I were to play Dota, for example, would you be able to tell right away if I'm a complete beginner or if I've like what my experience is?
Probably, yeah. I think so.
Okay, so it's probably, yeah. So like chess is the same way in that, like, without actually playing or getting a sense or a feel, I have no idea. And then, like, if I try to explain something, it could be something that will make a lot of sense for you or something that will make absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Okay. Sure. So okay. I guess you're gonna quiz me then? That sounds a bit... I'm a bit nervous about that.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. So how do we do it? Do I play against someone?
So
or...
yeah, you're playing against me, right?
Oh, I'm playing as you. Okay, well that's a good first test. 3-2-2-2. Is that good?
What's that?
Is your rating good? 3-2-2-2?
Yeah, it's kind of good.
And okay.
It's only the number one ranking on the site, but I mean,
okay.
Nobody's counting.
No, of course not. So I just begin?
Yeah.
Okay. I've already wasted 40 seconds, by the way. This doesn't usually take me this long.
Yeah, but this is 10 minutes, so it's not super fast.
Okay. This is. Okay. I only know one real opening with white, I think.
That's already a very good start.
Why, thank you.
Oh, is there a meme in Dota with 3-2-2?
There is actually, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because my chat is telling me all about it.
It's throwing a game for money, basically. Yeah.
All right.
I'm hoping here. Might be teaching to throw. All right. So, am I supposed to explain what I'm thinking, or just
Well,
lose?
I guess the main thing is just to play what you're playing. But you have played a very good opening so far. This is the Italian opening where you put the bishop on c4 here.
You did the Gucci piano game as well. It says in the top right corner for me.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Actually, it does say, yeah. So you call it Italian or the gioco piano. If you speak Italian, then yes, it's called the Gucci piano. But all right, so I'm gonna play knight f6 here.
Were you almost really impressed with me knowing that one?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, this is a real opening. It's a very good starting opening to play. Okay, so I will take.
Yeah, I think I'm okay overall. Probably castle here.
So one thing when you develop your bishop like this is normally you don't want to trade it off, because bishops sort of are the pieces that attack from long distance, and normally they are better than knights.
Okay. I always felt that the knights always confuse people at my rating, so I just try to keep them alive, and I eventually win because of it, because they don't know what's happening. Alright, you push that pawn, but I don't know why. Doubling up in your pawn there, protecting it. Want to move your... Yeah.
Right, so what you're going to see is basically the bishops are going to... my bishops are going to become very strong here.
So here I'm either thinking of moving my queen up, like to e2, or to move my knight out and develop him into the middle. I think I'll develop my knight, but I just don't know what purpose he serves, but we'll find out, I guess.
That's good. Okay.
Oh, actually, I don't like queen is... Yeah?
Do you know what this is called when I put a bishop here? Like where you can't move a piece out of the way?
Yeah, you pin it, I think. Alright?
Yeah, pin, exactly.
I can do this, I think. Shove you away or trade.
Hello, George.
I'm really tempted to push the g-pawn two times up, but I feel like that's wrong for some reason, so I want to do it. I really want to.
Now, normally this is true. So if you look at the pawns around your king, I don't know what you would call this formation, but you see how you have the pawns in front of your king, the rook, the king, and then you have the pawn on the side of the board.
Yeah.
Normally this is how you want to play, because your king has a square in case way down the road you get checked on the back rank. But also, it's just this is the formation you want with the king, the rook, and the knight.
Okay.
Now, in this case, you actually do kind of need to push your pawn at some point to the square, but most of the time it's not correct because it weakens the pawns in front of your king. Like right now, the pawns are supported by your king and by the rook, but when you do push the pawn forward, it will attack this bishop.
Also, the knight is kind of free if I do that, right? As well. No, not really.
Not quite because the queen guards it, but yes, this is very dangerous here.
Yeah, I mean, I was flamed a lot by both as for pushing my G pawn all the time. Did a little bit.
Right, and most of the time you should not do that, but in a case like this, you actually kind of are going to have to do that at some point.
At some point. But right now I can do this, I feel like, and I can potentially fork you on C7, but you saw that instantly,
Very good,
so I can't.
yeah.
Alright, that was fast. Well, I'm out of ideas. Let's see. I feel like I could develop I can move my queen to like E2 and put my rook in the middle file, possibly. That's not a bad move, but one thing that you want to look at here is look at the pin on the knight with my bishop. Okay.
So
okay.
This is a general concept, and this is.
Sorry. So maybe I can move it to D2 instead on the queen, so it's not pinned.
You could do that. Now the problem here is if you move the queen up to the dark square, I will take your knight, and you'll have the two pawns in
double
front of
my
each
pawns.
other.
Yeah, true.
And so what I'm trying to explain here, this is actually very straightforward, is solely about the pawns in front of your king and where you want them to be placed. So you move the queen up to D2, I can trade the bishop for the knight, and you end up with these two pawns.
That's true.
One in front of the other, and your king is very open and very easy. It's going to be very easy for me to attack your king. So you really don't want your pawns like that.
True. Okay, so
I'll tell you the move you should play. The move you should play is G4. So.
Okay, so that was the move I was thinking before, but I wasn't sure when I'd do it. But alright.
Right, now in most cases, you would rather not do this, but I'll explain a couple things after the game in terms of that.
Okay. Now I can do the queen thing, right? I can move her up and develop my other guy? My rook? I feel like white is good here, right? Like, it just feels like I'm a little bit more developed than you, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's pretty balanced. I wouldn't say that either side is necessarily better, but I am going to try to play thematically now since you did push the pawns in front of your king.
Oh boy. You're gonna punish me, huh? This is a bait. I feel like this is a bait for sure. You're trying to bait me into taking the pawn, but I'm not gonna do it. I'll just keep developing my pieces. I could take... There's nothing really you can do that I can see right now. If you get the knight on D4, that sounds nasty. I don't want that to happen, but I could take with my knight, so it's not the end of the world. I'll just develop my rook, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so you said I made a mistake, huh? Now your rook has an open file there. Very fast right now. I feel like checkmate is coming soon. If you move your queen... Wait, is it already forced? Am I already... Yes. Okay. That's a yes. Damn it.
Yeah, I think it is actually kind of forced here, yeah.
Damn. Okay, actually... Okay, but what if... What if... No, I can do this, and then I move... F3. Okay, I can't do that. Never Okay, it's forced. Okay. Alright, so I guess I screwed up a little bit. 3 blunders? Okay, quite a lot.
Let me make an analysis board. I'll invite you one second.
Okay, okay. Okay, I didn't know what to do about the right side there. Was focused on the middle.
Right, so this is so you should see something in your bottom right hand corner with an invitation.
I see it. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, now you can. I'll flip the board. Right. So this opening is very good. What you played this Gucci piano, bringing the bishop out and then pushing the pawn to D3 here.
Yeah.
So this is all pretty standard so far. So if you're going to develop your bishop here in all of these variations.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what the order is. So let's just say I were to castle. You can also castle. You can also push the pawn to C3 as well. But no matter what, at some point you want to put the bishop here. So this move is completely fine. But whenever black plays his pawn to attack the bishop,
Yeah.
You should always move the bishop back to h4 here.
Okay. So not trading is not good because I mean I was thinking you'd double your pawns, but I didn't see you could take with the queen, so it became a little bit not so great. Maybe.
Right, but there's a secondary point here that I will make as well. So if you take the knight and I take back with the pawn, it's bad that I have the pawns like this, but I have not actually moved the king out of the center yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
So because I haven't moved the king out of the center, let me give you an example. Let's say white castles here. Black can go rook to g8.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I have these pawns that aren't very good, in return I get this open line for the rook. The rook is very good going right down towards your king.
Yeah. Okay.
So like there are cases where you can do this, and in this case it's not as bad because I haven't castled. But following the game after we reach this position,
all right,
you'll see that basically. What black wants to do is I want to overload your knight. So let's just say you play, I'll just play a random move like this, okay?
Okay.
What black can do here is move the knight here.
Yeah, that looks nasty because then I can't take it back and have it pinned. Well.
Right, so basically this is completely lost for white because you can't ever move the knight because you'll lose the queen. Yeah. But you can't protect because I have 1, 2, 3 that are attacking your knight.
Yeah, true.
So at this point the game is over. White just loses here.
Okay. Because
let's say you take the bishop, black will take, white will take back, and then I just take the pawn with the bishop.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fucked. Yeah.
And if the queen moves,
it says I'm +2 though. I'm a little bit excited about that, but then I'm still lost, right?
Yeah, I mean temporarily you're right that white is ahead by 2 points here, but white's going to lose the queen or get checkmated on the next move.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a temporary material advantage, but one of the things that makes chess really hard is that the king is the piece that matters. So you could be up by 20 points, but if your king is getting checkmated by 1 or 2 pieces, then that's the end of the game.
True. A lot of things I definitely do. I feel like if I am ever +1, I just trade everything until I win. I don't know. At my rating, they don't really care. You know, they just trade and it works out.
Right. And I would also say that's very important. Like, for example, if you're ahead by like 5 points or something, you should always try to trade off the material. Like, even if you give up an imbalance, like a rook for a bishop, if you're ahead by a lot of points, then you do want to trade off the pieces. Because at the end of the day, the pieces that are most dangerous generally are the queens and the rooks. And then, you know, like a queen in conjunction with like a bishop or a queen, rook, and bishop. The queens and the rooks are the most powerful pieces in the game of chess. So if you're way ahead, you don't mind getting rid of your opponent's rooks or their queens. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
So now, if you look at this position, because this is something that probably will occur quite frequently when you play, you see how this knight is pinned. And in this case, it's very bad because you can't move the knight, and the only way to remove the bishop is to push the pawns.
Yeah.
But now let's just say I'm just going to do this for an example. Let's just say you reach a position like this.
Okay.
It's a lot different here because you can bring your bishop back to e2.
Okay.
And what you do is you break this pin.
Yeah, that's really good.
So now your next move, I'll just make a normal move, is you can just move your knight away.
Yeah, now it's not pinned.
And there's no danger because now if black takes the bishop, you take back. It's an even trade, and it's completely fine. It's just a bishop for a bishop.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
So this is also why you want to be really careful is if you end up with a bishop here, there's a term for this which is called a bishop outside of the pawn chain.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason it's called a bishop outside the pawn chain is because you have these 3 pawns here. They make a chain. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But your bishop is very good here because it's attacking. Whereas let me go back to the start of the game. Let me just put the bishop something like this, for example. The bishop is inside the pawn chain.
Yes.
You still have these 3 pawns all in a row, but the bishop's not really attacking. It's a very passive piece, whereas you really would like the bishop here attacking towards the black king.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why you want to be very mindful of these ideas, because if your opponent gets a pin where you have a bishop that can't like break this pin in between, many times it's very dangerous, and you might even just be losing right away.
Okay. All right, so I need to keep bishop files open basically to protect, kind of.
Right, or another example is here. You didn't have to move the knight. You could have played this move in first.
Oh,
so
okay,
you just stop the bishop.
It. Yeah, that's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, so this is a move you want to always be aware of. because this is what I was saying. When you look at the pawn structure here, this generally you want these 3 pawns like this. I don't know how you remember it exactly, but basically the reason this is so good is like that you stop this, but also long term. Do you know what a back rank checkmate is?
Back rank, isn't that when you? I don't know what it means, but I'm just assuming when you put your rook deep.
Okay, I'll try to just make a quick example. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so you see this position.
Yeah. So if my pawn was down 1, I'd lose instantly, right?
Right. So back rank checkmate is when your king gets stuck on this original rank of the board, and you can't move the king anywhere.
Okay.
So this move, in many cases, it's the move that you want to play later in the game, so that you can always get your king out. But here, not only do you allow yourself the space for the king, but you also stop the bishop from coming here.
All right,
so most of the time, this is the formation you want when you castle your king to the right.
All right, cool.
So there's this, and now you play this good move. I go back, you go here. So you see how you have these 3 pawns. This is the ideal formation for your pawns.
All right. Yeah, I can remember that.
So now let's say you move the queen here, like you were thinking about doing. If you end up with pawns like this and your king is right here, it's very, very bad.
Yeah, it sounds bad.
It's very because like here, what black can do is black can go knight here.
Mm-hmm. And I have no response to that knight. Yeah.
Right, well, I'm threatening to fork your king and your queen.
Yeah, it's a super fork. I guess I'd move my queen here or something, but that seems bad because then you pin it with the bishop, so I don't know actually where I'd move her.
Yeah, I can also do this as well. I mean, this is another fork.
Oh yeah, that's not good either.
So like, let's just say you were to bring the king up. The reason this is so bad is that your king is very vulnerable. So now what I can do is I can play like pawn here to attack your knight. Your knight has to go somewhere, let's just say here. And now I can just make a queen check right away.
This feels like I'm losing no matter what I do.
Right. No, this is completely lost. But the main reason I'm showing this is not so much like the specific moves, but to remember where these pawns belong when your king is on this side of the board.
Okay.
And let's say white goes queen here. Black and do you see the next move for black? Let's see if you spot the tactic.
I spot the tactic. Okay, I'm being quizzed here. Let's see. I was thinking knight to d4, but then you take, and I take, and you take again, but it doesn't seem like anything happens from that. I feel like it could be... I'm thinking. I'm not sure actually. I thought the knight to d4 is what I'd do and just trade a bit, but I guess it's not that good.
Well, knight d4 is actually the right move.
Oh, okay.
Well, the reason it's the right move is because after knight takes knight, there's a better move.
For black or for white?
For black.
Yeah. Is it the... Oh, of course, the queen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, that makes sense.
And now black's ahead. It's a knight and a bishop for 1 queen. And knights and bishops are worth 3 points, and a queen is worth 9. So I got 2, but it's still plus 3.
Queen dies.
And like, actually, this is a good example where, like, if you could, you would want to trade rooks off because the bishops and the knights can't attack your king very easily. They need the rooks or the queens to attack. Yeah,
I feel like whenever people have knights and bishops, they can't win against me. I mean, rooks are just better in general. They're easy
like
to use.
almost always. The only exceptions are when there are not open lines for the rooks. Like in this position, for example, all of the rooks here are very passive for both players. But let's just say black castles and white can do something like this. The way that you use the rooks is you want to open the line. So I'll just make some random moves like this, and now you can play f4 and you open the line. And you can double stack the rooks on this f5.
Double stacking feels good.
Yeah, and actually, if you can get that, generally something like this. This is what we would call basically a half open file. So when you look at like this, the H and G and so forth, in chess we call these files. Files, and then when you do like vertically, or horizontally, sorry, they're called ranks. So when you can get the rooks like this is what we call an open file for the rooks, and this is the dream for the rooks. What you want to do, you want like the open file because that's where the rooks are most powerful. But in this case, it's like a half open file because it's not completely open. Black has stuff on the file. You're the only one who has the open side of the file.
I guess
but at the same time,
I guess what I'd want to do is move my knight eventually and have this bishop. Wait, I can't move any. Yeah, exactly. That knight, and I move the bishop up. That attack the same square, f7.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what you want. And so in this case, it's really strong because I don't have anything that I can use on this file. Like my rook is still behind the pawn, so it's a very passive rook. Whereas your rook is, or your rooks are really, really strong here. So when you have a half open file instead of a fully open one, it's very strong. This sort of setup is very strong. Whereas, whoops, let me go back to the game. So now let's go back to the game. Okay, this position G4 and here. What I do is I play this and I control the whole open file.
Yes. Yeah, that's a scary move.
Yeah, it's already probably close to losing for white for a couple of reasons. The main reason being
if
that...
you do that, don't I take with the knight, or what's stopping me?
Sorry, what's that?
If you move the queen, well, I can just take with the knight, right? Can't have that
well, you
square?
can make moves on the board too. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, that move. If you move the queen there, let's see. Wait, weren't you moving the queen there to h4?
Not yet, because you have a knight. You have a knight
okay.
that covers a square.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
So one thing is in this case of the game, you had to kind of push the pawn at the right moment. There were slightly better moves, but it's a little bit too advanced to get into. But basically, the point is that here you had to push this pawn, right? You didn't get to keep the pawns 1, 2, 3.
I see.
Like you didn't get to keep them on the original squares.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Because I got this quick pin and this big attack towards your queen and your knight. But the danger is when you get in this position, the only way that you can survive here is to play king here.
Okay, that's a move I don't think I'd see that. But yeah.
So let's take a look at the game then, and then let's see if you can work it backwards and figure out why that's the best move. So you played rook d1. I trade, and now here again I get the only open file here, and it's a completely open file. And not only is it open, but your king is right there. So your king is very close to where my rook is. So I played knight d4, and what this concept is called is removing the defender. So what I really would like to do is use my rook and my queen to checkmate your king.
Yeah.
So that's why I play knight d4, because what I do by playing this move is your knight is the only defender, because your rook and your queen are near your king, but they're not defending your king, because there's this open file here that I just attack on.
Okay.
So what I do by playing this move is I remove the only defender in your position that can stop me from attacking and checkmating the king. So after takes queen h4, it's just a forced checkmate.
All right.
Because if you move the rook over, I make checkmate. If you move the queen over, I make checkmate. And you played here, and I made the checkmate.
So it would be different if my queen was on g2?
So why is it different here? Let's see if you can figure out. So what should black play if I try to play the same thing I played in the game?
I don't remember exactly the order now.
Okay, so let's say I take, and I go here.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So you take back, and I go here.
Yeah. And then I don't remember what I did, but I don't remember what.
Well, in the other order you were checkmated by force.
Yeah, exactly.
In this order you are not.
Now I have an escape square on f3, I suppose. You
have this, but you also have another move.
Oh, okay. I mean, right now before that, okay. I mean, my instinct is telling me rook to h2. Wait, no, h1.
Oh, you mean h1? Right?
H1. Yeah.
Yes, this is actually winning for white.
Okay.
Because I can't take your rook because the other rook protects it.
Yeah.
I can't take the pawn because your queen guards. And if I ever move my queen away, you just take the rook.
Yeah, take the rook for free, and I check you too.
Right. You actually, beyond checking, you're going to win the other.
Yeah,
rook
another
as well.
rook too. Yeah, that's insane. That's a sick move.
So the reason that you have to play this move is that, let's just say I take and I play, I don't know, let's just say I play a move like this. What you can do now is you can contest for the entire open file. Because you can play, right now I have this rook that's on the open file, right?
Yeah.
But you can move your rook over now.
Yeah. You trade in the worst case scenario. But that's better
right,
for
but
me.
if I trade, this is actually really bad now for black.
Yeah, because I have this open file for the king to check him too, right? And pin your
you have
pin
the
your
check
queen.
Where you would win the
you'd
win like a queen or a rook here.
Yeah, yeah. That's
so in this game, this is kind of why trying to understand how to use the rooks the best that you can, it's all about trying to get the open lines, the open files for the rooks to play on.
Okay.
Because like if you think about this position conceptually, your knights and your bishops and your queen, they're relatively normally placed, I would say.
Yeah.
But your rooks are not really active here. The rooks are the pieces that they're hard to activate because they're behind the pawns. And so what you want to do is you want to try to figure out, is there a way that you can bring them into the game here? And so the way that you do that is moving the king and trying to contest for this file right away.
That makes it easier to remember. Like moving the king out of the way to get the rook out, maybe.
Right, because the other thing that's really hard to remember is that you should always, like, you're trying to think about your best moves, but you should be aware of what your opponent's trying to do as well. So like when I play this move, what I want to do is I want to open up this file and attack your king. Mm-hmm. So you also need to be trying to figure out, what are they doing? Is there a way that you can respond? Like, this open file is very dangerous. But if you can actually fight for it as well with your next move or two, then you can actually end up being much better here. Because the way the transformation, let's just say I play a move like this and you go here, is that I don't actually get to attack. Yeah. If I trade the rooks, white is the one attacking because your king is very safe. Like, you see how I have no pieces remotely close to your king. The king is just a super king here.
Yeah, super king. I can remember that.
And so what happens is basically what I was trying to do is I was trying to use these two pieces to attack. But by just moving one rook over, you kill the whole attack, and you actually end up going on the offensive and attacking right away. So it's very important to be aware of what I'm trying to do when I play this move. Like, I want to open up and try to attack down towards your king. But by moving your king forward, you can actually fight for the file and just kill the whole attack, which I'm trying to create with 1, 2, 3 pieces with just one rook.
That makes sense. That's really good. What would you do instead if I did the king move as black? When your attack is stopped, right?
Probably what I'd do is I would play something like queen up to attack your pawn.
Okay. Now there's a double attack on that.
So what moves would you think of here if it was your move and you were white?
I feel like I want to protect my pawn, and one way is to get my knight out of the way, which could honestly be. Then it becomes a weird. I was thinking knight to h4, but then if you take, my knight is kind of pinned by the rook. It's awkward. But I'd want to get my knight out of the way so my queen can protect the pawn somehow. So maybe knight to g5 instead.
So one thing you want to be aware of is that I'm trying to attack this pawn here.
Yeah.
So if you move the knight, let's just say to this square.
Yeah.
I can now play knight here.
Oh yeah, because that square is open now. Yeah, that sucks a bit.
So what's going to end up happening is, let's say you move the queen back. I can trade the pawns now, and I think probably the easiest move I can play here is just pawn here.
Mm-hmm. And now my knight is not happy up there.
Right. And also you don't have time to fight for this file, which my rook is on, because I'm attacking your pawn here right away. So everything is kind of collapsing for white.
It's true.
So what you would have to do here is actually you would ignore it. You'd play this move.
Okay.
And the reason is now I don't get to attack. You see, you closed it. You closed down this file. I don't get to open it for my rook anymore.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I really wanted to attack, but then like you have the opportunity to always close it and just make this rook look really silly here, because with the pawn in front, there's no attack. The rook just can't go down and attack anything next to your king.
All right.
So long term, this is probably still very good for black, but it's pretty complex, and it's not something where there's a straightforward plan. Probably what I would do here if I'm black is I would castle this way, and then eventually try to attack by opening up this other line for my rook. So for example, let's just say you play a move like here, something like this, capture, this, and something like rook g8.
Yeah. Then you have
and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to attack.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that's kind of the idea that I would play. But the main thing to remember is sort of playing for the open files here, which I think is the main thing. Remembering what your opponent's doing. Like, your opponent is
smarter than me.
Right. So like, if your opponent's trying to open it, you need to think about well, first of all, can I close it and not let the rook get active? And if I'm going to let it open up, is there a way that I can fight with my rooks for that open file? Because an open file for a rook is generally very, very good if you get it, especially if it's uncontested. So like, I mean, regardless of a checkmate, let's just say we reach a position like this. This rook here, it has the open file and it's completely uncontested. You have no pieces that can fight for this line with the rook. So, what you want to do?
Up, I assume. I mean, move my king up.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right, but the point is like.
Why can't I move it? I guess it's black's turn. Yeah, it's black's turn. Yeah.
Right, but the main point that I'm making though is like right now the rook is uncontested. So basically, when your opponent is trying to say play a move and an idea to open up something like here and get this line for the rook, you either need to think about, well, first of all, do I have a way to keep it closed like this?
Yeah.
Or if I'm gonna let it open up, I need to have a way to fight for it with my own rooks. So that's the main thing.
That makes sense. I don't think I've ever like seen the scenario in one of my games. I don't know why, but usually it doesn't get this like complex. Yeah, someone just blunders eventually. You know what I mean? And a little bit more straightforward.
Right.
It makes sense.
Right. Well, what I'm trying to show is more like just concepts as opposed to something that's necessarily going to happen in a game. Because the thing is, if you know this concept, it will happen in your games. Like maybe not right now, but you're gonna have some random game. It's like, oh wait, I remember like this rook on this open file. It was important for some reason. And what you're trying to do. So like basically what you want to work on or learn is the concepts, and then mix that in with like puzzles, basically to put it all together in an actual game.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of puzzles actually, but I heard they're good.
Yeah, puzzles are very good, and I think since you're definitely not a beginner, that you would improve very quickly. I don't know why, but all the Swedish streamers seem to be like above average. Let's
chess
put
prodigies.
It that way.
Almost.
I just mean like Forsen was pretty good. Nim was very good. You're not a beginner at all, so it's
I'll take that as the biggest compliment I've had in chess so far.
Yeah, I know you're I guess the way that I would say is the first thing you want to avoid doing when you're playing is you want to avoid making the big mistakes where like you give up a knight or you give up a bishop or a rook for nothing, where like you just blunder the rook and you get nothing in return. That's the first thing that I think most beginners have the biggest difficulty with, because they're not used to the formations and where the pieces belong. But you're already not doing that, so you're already on a good path.
Okay.
So do you want to do another game?
Yeah, sure. Do it. I can try black maybe. I don't know any black openings. Not really. But so I know one thing people do a lot is move up this G6 pawn and get their rooks out.
Definitely don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, I won't do that.
No, because what I would say in chess is that the central squares, like you see where the pawns are in front of the king here, 2 squares up, and the square which is 2 squares in front of the queen. These 4 squares are the most important squares in the game of chess.
Okay.
Because they control the center part of the board.
Okay, so the knight sniper towers on G7 and B7 aren't so good. You don't like that strat?
You can do it, but what I would say is it's very hard if you're not a very advanced chess player, because basically what happens is that in chess, one of the most important things is to try and get space in the center part of the board. So the 4 squares D4, E4, D5, and E5 are the most important squares. And if you give up control of the center part of the board, and you put your bishops like on these diagonals, what we call them, they're good, but then you have to know exactly where to place your pawns along with where your bishops are. Okay. So you have to understand exactly, very precise formations with your pawns if you're going to set up that way. And most people, unless you're really advanced, are going to have a lot of difficulty with that because you just don't have any space on the board.
I feel like you gambited your pawn here. I guess I'll just take it. I don't really see what's stopping me. But
so this is actually called the Vienna Gambit.
Okay.
That I play with up4, and this might get bad for you pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm already feeling pretty bad about this. I can't really move my knight there. I mean, I could move my knight to G4. I feel like the only move that's good is.
If you go to G4, I'm gonna take it with my queen.
Yeah, exactly.
Though.
So I just move back. It's not a lot I can do. All right. It's already starting, huh?
Well, do you see what's happening?
I took control of the center. I'm
exactly
not happy. I could move my like here. I'm thinking about moving my bishop to like c4 and doing the knight pin thing, or I can move my pawn up one on d6. Like those are my two options. I think I'm gonna move the bishop first because otherwise it's gonna be trapped.
No, this is good. This is actually a very good move if you follow it up with the correct sequence of moves here.
If, yeah, that's a big if.
Right.
So I have the option of going b6 now with my knight, which I think is decent. Free pawn. No, it's not that free actually. Nah, I'm just gonna move my pawn up once. Okay, that knight is confusing me because now I really don't want to take that pawn. The knight is gonna come in on f7 and wreak havoc, maybe something. Maybe I do this now. I do the other pin.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that knight's doing. It's attacking my knight in the corner there. I feel like I could maybe move my knight to e7 and castle, but then you kind of have a good snipe on my king, which it doesn't feel good at all. I could check you here as well, but I don't know if that's gonna do anything. My queen. This would feel good, I suppose. Yeah, I think.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, the main issue is that you're behind in your development. You've brought 2 bishops into the game, but I've brought all my knights and my bishops into the game.
Yeah, I'm way behind. But I guess I'm just gonna develop my knight here. I can't really see a different move. It's great. Castled. That square is taken. All squares are taken. Shit. You're triple defending that pawn, so that's a problem for me. The e5, so I can't really attack that. Unless maybe I can move up. No, that's bad, then my knight dies. Maybe that's an okay trade though. Knight for bishop. If I move this pawn up.
Yeah, if I take
wrong.
the knight, it's a good trade.
Yeah. I'm not sure about this. It felt wrong moving that pawn, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, normally you don't want to do that.
And now I think I trade here. Because... well, you told me to back the other time. But now if you push your pawn up to g4, I think it's a lot worse for me. I have to retreat twice. I don't like that. I'll just trade. Now I feel like I have a good move with my queen here. I mean with my knight. We're really quick about that one. You have a checkmate very soon almost. I could do something, I bet. There's something I definitely could do here. What if I move my knight here? I attack your queen, and if you take the G square, I can take it back.
This is probably the best move. Because what happens if I take your knight? Do you see the next move? I play queen takes knight. I
take with my rook, and you take my rook. Or wait,
no. I mean the knight on the center square on d4.
Oh, if I see that, I actually didn't even see that. Let's see here. If you take
but if
that,
I were to take,
yeah, then I guess I take with my f6 pawn maybe or something. No, with my d6 pawn, and I pin your queen.
Okay, that's not bad. I'll show you the correct move after.
Okay.
But it's on the right path. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm happy with that. Well, now I'm panicking. I guess I can only move my king here. Okay, now I feel like I'm really losing.
Let me guess. You consider yourself a child of good.
Damn it. Now I kind of feel like I have to trade queens. But now I'm so far behind in material, right?
Yeah, now you're down.
Okay, wait, this is fast. I thought we were doing lessons. I feel like I'm just being smacked. What is this?
No, we are, but I think the main thing is like it's one thing that's very hard is without having a general base of like a history of knowing what someone has done. It's easier to teach concepts through games than it is like any other way.
I have no moves. Actually, this is kind of cool.
It would that is actually that the idea is good. Creating the fork against the king and the bishop. There's only one problem here.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big problem. I didn't see that square.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that the people who are newer to the game struggle with, which is that seeing backwards moves with like a bishop especially, like it's very hard to spot that. A lot of people do miss that.
All right. Well, now I lost for sure. I don't think there's a lot of recovery here, right?
Right, yeah. Now you're just down three pieces.
Yeah. So I'll just move here. I can't move him anywhere almost. I have to sack a rook. It's awful.
Yeah, this is not good.
I have to literally sack another rook. Okay. I'm pinned and I am screwed. Oh, you have checkmate if I do that. I don't have any other options, right? I can never leave. Can I move anything? Okay, move. I can't move my queen. Yeah, king. Isn't it stalemate then or something? Oh, it's when you have no moves, right?
Yeah, if you have no other moves with any of your other pieces, then yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was fast. In the end there. After I felt like I made my first mistake, I tilted a little bit and I moved really fast.
Right, so let me just invite you again to this board. Yeah, we'll do analysis.
Is there a can I see the computer calculation in the analysis too?
I think you can. Yeah. Actually, let me just check. Yeah, I think if you click so wait, if you click on the second board or you've got it, right? Let me go back here. I just played E4. Do you have the board open?
Yeah, I don't see any computer, but that's okay. I'll use you as a computer.
There's something in the settings. Why? There's something in the settings. Let me check quickly.
By the way, those guys that sit in like the street and play chess, how good are they at chess?
They're probably about 2,200 is their rating.
That's super high.
Yeah, they're very.
That's higher than both is. I remember she was at 2.1. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. I'll figure out how you turn on the evaluation function, but there is a way to turn it on. Because on my screen, for example, I do have it on right now, so I can All right, so E4, E5, right? So this is a good opening. What I was saying before, let me flip the board around, by the way. So what I was saying is that in general in the game of chess, you want to play in the center of the board.
Okay.
So like you can always play moves like you can do something like this, for example. But the problem is that because you've given up these central squares, the pawns allow me to develop my pieces behind them. So like I can bring the bishops out, bring the knights out. So what the pawns do is they create the space so that the rest of your pieces can come in behind them. They're the units that you move out first that take the space, and then you use the other units behind them to support everything, kind of.
Units, yeah, that makes sense now. I like that.
And pawns, of course, are they have the least value, but they're also very, very important. So like as the game goes further and further, the value of pawns becomes less and less. But at the beginning of the game, you want to use your pawns so that all your pieces can come in. Units can come into the game behind them.
They're creating space for. And
so like let's just say you play like this, for example. Now, if you've probably watched my stream, you've seen me do this every game, probably.
Honestly, when I watch your stream, I don't understand anything. It feels like it's just pretty fast for me, you know?
Normally, though, you will see that I will put a bishop here. I almost always will bring a pawn out and bring a bishop out. And the reason I do this is because since I'm a grandmaster, I have a lot of experience. I understand where I'm trying to put my pawns, but it's also a way of trying to create a big imbalance in the game, because you'll see that like I've got the bishop here. And let's just say white moves, let's just say we reach some position like this. You'll notice that the pawns are not symmetrical. Like white has these pawns in the center, but my pawns are on completely different squares.
Yeah.
But when you play like this, for example, it's symmetrical. You're mirroring the white pawn.
It's easier, I guess, as well, right? I mean,
Right. It's much easier because you're playing in the center of the board the same way your opponent is. So that's why like I would not recommend playing like this, because what it requires is a very deep understanding of where you're going to put your pawns and put the pieces, because you end up with less space. Like if you just think about this position, for example, white has very easy development. He can go like bishop, queen, castle. Well, let me just make some moves. So I castle, white castles. Let's say I move a knight. White can push the knight back right away. So let's say I push like a pawn or something. White can just go bishop here. I'm just going to make some random moves. Queen here. And then just set this up with all the pieces on ideal squares.
Yeah,
so like you have the rooks on the ideal squares to open up. Your knights are developed. Your bishops are developed.
That
and
looks
black,
super scary. Like a machine in the middle.
Black's not developed.
Yeah.
Like I have 3 pieces on their original squares here.
Yeah.
And I have a lot less space as well because these pawns control a lot of squares in the center of the board.
Okay.
So you can play like this, but the problem is when you play like this, you have to understand how to play against these pawns in the center, and that requires a very deep understanding. And I would say someone who's below probably even international master would have a lot of trouble playing this well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's not me for sure.
So that's why I like this, and I played knight here, which is fairly rare. Normally, white brings out this knight to attack the pawn. But I brought my knight here.
I usually bring out this knight then. I just did the same thing I usually do if they bring out the other knight.
So I played here. And do you know about an opening called the King's Gambit defense or King's Gambit?
No.
Okay, so the King's Gambit is when on move 2, white pushes this pawn here right away.
Okay.
And so you think it's a free pawn, right?
Oh, it looks like it, yeah.
So normally you take, and then white will bring this knight out. And the reason that this is actually a very hard opening to play for black is because white's going to get the center again. White has very simple plans. Let's say you bring, let's say you bring the knight out. White can always just play this move and remove the knight from the center.
Yeah, that's awkward. Yeah.
And if you try to bring like this knight out, I can very quickly, I can attack very quickly with this bishop here. And I'm going to go this move and take your pawn next.
Yeah. Okay, so basically the +1 is for nothing almost.
Right, and it's just very fast development. Like I get the king out of the center, I'm going to push the pawn, and all my pieces are just attacking. Whereas you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces on their original squares.
Okay, yeah.
And also, once again, you'll notice that I'm going to end up with this big center. I end up with the pawns on these 2 squares again.
Yeah.
So if your opponent plays like the King's Gambit, I'll just give you a little bit on this. What I recommend that you play is take this pawn, they bring the knight here, and now you push this pawn immediately in the center of the board.
Yeah, that makes sense. My queen is protecting
it. And the idea...
Yeah, my queen is protecting it, so you can't take it, and I have the center, right?
Right. So normally probably it will go something like this and pawn here. But what you can do in a position like this is you can, let's just say, bring a knight out. Let's say white takes the pawn and just bring your bishop out and try to get your king castled at the start of the game. And normally that's what you want to do, is you want to develop your pieces and get your king out of the center, and then worry about trying to play with the heavy pieces like the queens and the rooks normally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So these gambits are very, very dangerous, and nowadays they're not considered to be very good because with computers, humans have sort of figured them out. But if you go back to like the this sounds silly saying it, but if you go back to like the 1850s or 1860s, these openings were very, very effective because you get a very quick plan of bringing your piece into the center of the board and attacking right away.
Yeah, I'd get baited by that for sure. I mean, I'd always get baited. I enjoy the +1 next to my name. I just feel like I'm winning, and it feels good taking everything.
Right, so knight c3, knight f6, I played f4.
Yeah.
And now again, when you took the pawn, you see exactly what happened is that I got the big center.
Yeah.
I got these pawns. Your 1 pawn advantage. You're going to lose the pawn very, very quickly here. So again, you don't want to take the gambit. What you would do here is very thematic to what you do in the other line. So which is you push this pawn again.
Yeah. I don't even take it. All right. But what stops him from taking?
Which one? Yeah, you can make the moves too.
Yeah. What stops him from doing this?
Okay, so what's your next move?
As black or white?
As black.
I guess I'd just take it. Oh wait, I have to move my knight. I guess I move my knight here.
Right, and now it's a trade 1-for-1. But you see, both players have a pawn in the center of the board here.
I guess that's pretty even. Yeah, I suppose.
And nobody gets like, even though you're up 1 here, you give up the whole center in this position. Like you see, I have these 2 pawns, and you can't. The pawns create all the space for my other pieces to come into the game. So that's why here what you should play is pawn here. And what I mean by thematic, by the way, as well, is when someone tries to attack you, like sort of off to the side. I know like this is not like pushing on the very edge of the board, but most of the time when your opponent tries to attack your center from the sides, the way that you respond is in the center of the board if you can. So by center, normally that's like these 2 files where the king and the queen are.
Yeah.
So when I push the pawn here to attack from the side, you try to respond in the center.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And not get baited into the sides and die there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's why, like in chess, the center part of the board, these files where the king and queen are by far and away the most important. It's the most important space in the entire board.
Okay.
So let's say I take this pawn and you take this pawn. And now, if I push this pawn here, what would your next move be?
I feel like I will do the bishop pin thing again.
That's a good move. Maybe it's I don't know if it's absolutely the best move, but I like it. It's good enough. And let's say I bring this knight out.
Okay, so you're protecting that knight. Now your next plan, I guess, is to push the A pawn down to shove me out, then I have to back. So what I could do is create another threat maybe, but where? I could just castle, but it's I guess I think I'd just castle, honestly.
Yeah, that's the best move.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's say I play this move.
I'll back up with the bishop now, because now it's not worth it. Now you just develop.
You could, but actually what you should do is you should take.
Oh, I should take. Okay. I thought it would be good.
Let's say.
Oh, because you take it back.
And now, no, this is fine. This is fine. And now find the best move for black here.
For black. Okay. I guess maybe just take again, because then you double your pawn. No. Okay, that was wrong. Best move for black. I like how you just don't say anything. You just move it back for me.
Sorry.
It's okay. Okay. You're attacking that knight. I feel like there's some amazing move, but if I check you, doesn't that do anything? No, not really. You just move your pawn up, right? So maybe it's not that good. I don't know. I feel like I would at least just develop this knight.
Okay, so this is the correct move, by the way.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's what I said, right? We can say that.
Right. So after I push the pawn.
Yeah, that's a good question. After you push the pawn, that's how far I got in my head too. Guess I'd. Why can't I see this? I have to move my queen, right? I mean, how hard could it be? Just move the queen. It can't go to e5. Is it knight takes this? But that seems like a sacrifice, right? Bad?
And if I take
it again.
You could do this, but the reason this is so strong is because you can actually just take the rook here.
Oh, I can take the rook. Yeah, of course. Oh, I didn't see that. All right,
so this is another form of a pin.
Yeah,
where, like,
yeah,
if I capture this, you lose this.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
So this is another thing. Like when I try to attack from the side of the board, this is very important. Actually, is when you push the pawn that's next to your king with white or black, you always have to be aware of these ideas where there's some queen check. You always have to be aware of it when there's a knight and a queen that can attack the king.
I see. Yeah.
And that's why, like, by playing this move that I did with the pawn push, if it works out, it's very good. But it does open up my king because there always are ideas of this check. So if your opponent ever pushes a pawn that's to the left of their king, then you should always be aware of that.
Okay.
So this would have been the correct move. And now the thing here is that since both players have pawns in the center, normally white would probably try to develop the knight, develop the bishop, and castle the king. And the way you can respond to something like this is very simple. Just move your bishop. let's say white pushes a pawn, and you just castle your king out of the center of the board.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's already a game. You can probably push this pawn to attack this pawn, or push the pawn here where the rook is to attack this pawn on e5.
Yeah.
So basically, like the main thing is that not to take the bait and capture this pawn, but play in the center of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me think. So in the game, right? So like in the game, if you look at what happened, you lost what we call a tempo or time, because when you took this pawn, wrong position. When I took this pawn, I pushed my pawn. Your knight actually has to go back to the original square.
Yeah, that was really awkward.
So like you bring it out, but then you have to go right back. So you're losing the tempo. You're losing the time.
Yeah, I had no other options with the knight, right? Everything else was awkward.
Nope. And that's why when you took the pawn, you end up in trouble. That's why some of these ideas, like these gambits, can be very effective if the person you're playing against doesn't know how to respond. But the way you respond to your opponent trying to attack on the side is you push the pawn. And so if we go back to this one, the King's Gambit defense, what was the right move here?
The right move was to develop middle. Oh wait, maybe there was the knight first. I think this was like this.
Well, think about the theme. So it's the same idea as in the other position, but it's very slightly different in terms of placement. But remember, if your opponent's attacking on the side,
yeah,
that's not the center, how do you respond?
I respond by taking the middle, right?
Right. And how do you do that?
Wasn't it with this? I thought it was with that. I don't remember. If it was
did I not see the move? 1 second.
Is it?
To make the move.
D5. I just made it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I did. I just heard silence, so I assume I did it wrong. That's
maybe the board got
I
disconnected.
backpedaled.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, D5 is correct. Exactly. And when white takes the pawn, you can just take this pawn, and then you're attacking the pawn in the center.
Yeah.
So basically, you want to play in the center when your opponent tries to attack you from the side like this. And actually, to give you another reason this is so dangerous here is, let's say white takes this pawn. This is the exact same theme as before, but I just want to see if you spot it. So remember what I said about pushing the pawns to the left of your king.
You said bad.
Right, but there's one thing you should always be looking for.
What was that? I don't remember what I was looking for. The queen check, maybe? On this guy, and then I get the free pawn in the middle.
So let's say I push this pawn.
I take this, I check again.
But this is more than just a check.
And I get the free rook on the far left.
Right, because you're attacking the king and the rook at the same time, so you're going to take the rook. Which is just you're winning the game on the spot.
Easy, yeah.
And so nice. This is why when your opponent pushes the pawn very early, they open up this diagonal where your queen can check. You should always be aware of. You should always look at the check and see if it does anything. Most of the time it won't. But there always are ideas with the check because white has pushed a pawn to the left of the king too early. Yeah. So that's why So you play in the center, and so like this and playing in the center. Just always play in the center when your opponent tries to attack you from the side.
Okay.
So let's do one more. And I'll do something a little bit less. I'll play with white because it's probably more.
Okay. I thought black was harder. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, no. The reason I want to play with white is because you said you don't know black openings, right?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I just mirror, like you said.
Okay, so I'll play. Okay, so you're gonna play this defense. Okay, so you're gonna play like XQC. All right. So if you want to play this defense, you need to know the next move, and I'll tell you it just so you play it. But after I take, you do not mirror. Okay.
I do not mirror. So okay, I always mirror.
This position, what you're supposed to play is pawn to d6 first.
On a d6
the pawn in front of the queen, right?
Oh, okay.
So the reason this is good is because you see you're still attacking the pawn.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also attacking the knight. So I have to move my knight from the square, and then you're going to take the pawn next move.
Yeah. I would be beta taking it instantly, but yeah.
Right. And actually, after the game, I'll show you why you don't do it. But I do want to give you a game here, so it's not like 5 moves and you can resign. But to be fair, XQC has blundered that tactic, so it's not something that's obvious if you don't know the opening by force.
Mm-hmm. Now you're attacking that knight. I feel like I could... I just want to protect that knight no matter what. It's such a nice knight. I think I will... I can either move my bishop to f5 or I can move my pawn to f5.
Right, so I'll give you one thing. If you were to move your bishop to f5, you'd lose the game by force.
Okay.
However, there is one caveat to that, which is I believe there was a former world chess champion who did make that blunder and lost a game, I think, in 8 moves, and it was the shortest loss of his career. So you would be in good company if you did that. However, I would recommend that you play a different move.
Okay. Let me think. I'll just do the F. I'll just do this here. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Just backing up my knight.
Right. Okay. So.
That bad.
Right, I'm just gonna play here.
Okay, so you want to take the center, huh? Alright, I'll get you somehow. Let's see. So, I feel like if I move C6 with knight, you just push your pawn once, and that's awkward.
So remember, again, you wanna develop your pieces, and get your king out of center. That's always that's the basic principle. That's the basic theme. Like, you want to develop your pawns, your piece, but you want to get the king out of the center. Relatively quickly.
I kind of want to take d5 first though, which is really it's okay actually. It's okay, I think. Just so I can get my bishop out. Oh no. You have something here, I bet. No, I'm okay. Oh no. Something is coming, isn't it? Knight. Something is coming. I'm just dead, aren't I?
Well, you should think back to the last game. This is actually the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. I lose a rook and I lose the game. Yeah, I didn't learn anything, apparently. Okay, now... Can we go back?
Okay, I'll just end the game, and we can start over. Yeah.
Fuck. I was supposed to learn that. It said I did 0 blunders though, so I'm pretty happy with that. Not even the computer can keep up.
Okay, so let's do the same thing.
Yeah.
And remember, very good. You remembered very good. Okay, so do you remember what I said? I said it's very risky to push the pawn to the left. I guess here it's the right since you're with the white pieces, but it's very risky to push that pawn on the F line.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. That's what you said.
Because what I said the previous game literally occurred again, except this time you were on the wrong side of it because you pushed that pawn. So you really don't want to push that pawn early in the game.
So I guess I'll do this instead. Yeah. Because this kind of was the move I was looking to do earlier, anyways.
No, this is good. And now, for example, you can play this. Do you see the difference now? Now you haven't pushed that pawn. So now all these ideas with moving my knight and attacking your king on that diagonal with my queen don't exist at all.
True. Now you're protecting that pin on the knight so you can move him. And my guy... It's fine. I think I could castle.
Okay.
That's a worrying okay. You're building the fortress mid again. All the big pieces in the middle. I don't like that.
Right. So now you've developed a piece and got your king out of the center. So now there are a couple things you want to look at. You want to see, like, is there any of your pieces under attack, like your knight in the center, your bishop? See if there's anything that's under attack, and then if you decide there's nothing under attack, what would the next thing that you're looking for be here?
Developing my pieces if nothing is under.
Exactly. Yes. So like the thought process is very important.
I feel like it's either rook to f7. I'm sorry, but f8 or
e8. Right.
This is
a good idea.
Or the bishop to g4. But the bishop to g4, didn't seem that great because you already moved out your bishop in anticipation almost. Seems
right.
Like. So I guess I'll just do the rook. Something felt wrong with that, but I'm not sure what it is.
No, it's okay, but you need to be mindful of what's going to happen here if you don't play a good move.
Yeah, so, I'm going to lose. Maybe.
So there's this idea where I can take your knight with my knight.
Yeah, and I take it back with a pawn, and then you take my bishop. Yeah, that's bad.
Right.
That's true. So I guess I want to develop this guy to protect my bishop.
Mm-hmm. Very good move.
Yet, I am not happy. Now I have the choice of either trading or... I feel like if I trade, you will double your pawns, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Right. Now, you are happy with that, but remember...
Oh, no.
In this case,
here it comes.
It's on the other side of the board.
Oh, yeah. That's...
So it...
Yeah.
So it is good, but it's not like the end of the game, because my king is not next to these pawns.
Okay. Yeah, that's not so bad. And my king.
But you're doing well. This is very good. So
okay.
Also think about it this way: you got your rook to this open file, right? So this is good.
Yeah.
Now, what do you want to do? You still haven't developed some of your pieces. You want to develop
mega pressure that file.
Mm-hmm.
I have a weird move. You can tell me why it's bad after I do it, but I really want to do. No, it's so bad. I can't do it. Never mind.
What was the move? Just tell me what it was.
E4 with the rook.
Yes, that would be a terrible move.
Yeah, okay, I knew it. You wanted to know how bad it was, huh? All right. Well, I guess I'll just go.
Yeah, so this is a good move. This is one of the best moves in the position.
Yeah. You're also protecting that one now. Super protecting. Like, I really want to move out my rook and start doubling this stuff.
Right, and this is the right idea. This is what you want to do. But so how do you do that?
Wait, does it matter which square if it's like 7
well,
or
like
6?
you want to put the rooks on this file, right? You want to put both the rooks on the E file.
Yeah. Like
okay,
this?
so
that's
yeah,
wrong.
so this is fine. Really, the only question here that you have to sort of ask yourself is when you want to do that. I'm going to play this first. Is where are you going to put your queen afterwards? Right now, of course, you can't do anything because I'm attacking your bishop.
I want my queen in the far back because I don't want to trade her early. It's mega trade, I feel like. So now you're attacking that piece. I have some options. Like I could just move it back once, but I feel like that's a bit awkward as well. Then
actually, this is one thing that you want to remember is normally if you have this kind of you get the bishop on this line where the queen is, you very rarely want to take the knight. If you can keep it on the board, you sort of, there's more pressure building up towards the knight and the bishop because you're going to put everything on this line and attack the bishop that's in the way to where the queen is.
But if I move it to h5, aren't you just going to move your g-pawn up twice?
Well, do you remember what I remember? Now I've got the pawn formation.
G-pawn bad, right?
Yeah, normally when I do that, that's just going to weaken my king. My king becomes more open. So I can obviously do that. But one thing in chess that you should remember, and this is, I mean, it sounds silly saying it, but pawns don't ever go backwards. So when you push the pawns, like temporarily, it's like, oh yeah, I'm attacking your bishop. Your bishop's going to have to go back. But I'm creating weaknesses, and the pawns never go back. Whereas your bishop and the other pieces, they can reorganize the other units. They can come into the game from different squares, but the pawns get stuck. Like I can never bring them back.
Okay.
So in this case, it's actually correct. Like it's not automatic where you have to go and attack. The bishop is a very good piece from distance, so you don't generally want to get rid of the bishops unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah. In silence, you make a move and you expect me to know what to do. Don't though.
Well, remember you have a plan. You do have. I do have a plan.
I do have a plan. The question is if I want to move my queen to d7, or if I want to, or like to. Oh wait, not d7. Sorry, e7. Or if I want to move it like d7 to make space. Just looking at what your queen is doing. Maybe he's tricky. No, I think I'm fine. Maybe you could do something like g5 knight. That would be awkward, and then you'd have a checkmate.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
So there's a concept there's this concept that a former world chess champion created, which is it's called Alekhine's gun, and so I don't know why they called it that exactly, other than the fact that you line up the rooks and the queen all on the same line.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right that like moving this queen up to the light square would allow this knight move to g5. So the move that you probably should play here is actually queen to e7.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're trying to basically put everything on this line.
No, I'm protecting that square for the knight. Yeah. Now you moved though. Why did you move? Now you're rook attacking my rook, but that's not too bad. I feel like you're losing that move, but I don't know. I got you now. I got you on the ropes. I can smell the fear. The gun? Well, that's not good. You're screwing my gun.
Right.
Okay, I don't like this. I admit there's something wrong there, huh?
Well, basically what happens is you had a very straightforward plan, but I found a way to contest this line.
I shouldn't have
like I
taunted
was
you.
able to contest it with my own rooks.
I see. Now I'm fucked a little bit. I'll have to... I don't know what to do really, because if I move, you take my rook for free. But otherwise
Not
you have...
necessarily.
But you have this g5 move with the knight that's super scary if I move my queen too much.
Right, but you kind of have to move your queen, because otherwise I'm going to take with my rook.
Of course, yeah.
But you can move the... Again, this other thing is like, you don't have to always be going forward. Like, as long as you're not losing the material, you can go back and redevelop your units. You don't have to always be pressing forward in the same way.
I'm so scared of your knight to g5. It's really annoying, but I guess I'll just
Okay, so move the queen back. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to trade.
I'll just take...
So now I'm going to do this. And now I want to see if you can find the right move here. So I'm
Okay.
attacking your pawn on h7, right?
Yeah. And it's
So how do you
super-
prevent me from... There are two ways to prevent. So what's the simplest way to prevent this attack?
to I don't want to lose my pawn, but I could just move my king. Wait, I need the time to think, I guess. If I do this, then it blocks your queen, I guess?
Right. So the problem with this
The G-pawn.
move, however...
Oh no. That was the wrong move, huh?
Well, the problem is that now your bishop gets
my
stuck
bishop
on the edge.
is
So
stuck.
normally
Yeah.
when white tries to push these pawns, it's not good because you always have a square for your bishop to go back to. But if you block the retreating square back with the bishop, your bishop just gets trapped. It just
Yeah.
loses.
I guess we can back
You just lose it.
one time? Or...
Let me see. I don't think there's a way to take back, actually.
Oh, there's no way to take back. Oh no. I should have... it's always this
this is
G-pawn.
like real chess. You don't get takebacks in real chess.
That's true, that's true. What if I do this then? Did you ever expect this? You really didn't expect that?
Not really. Not really.
No, no, okay. That's not good. I am really getting screwed here. You have a checkmate almost on the something side.
Yeah. Yeah, on your king side, yes.
Yeah. I have a big problem. I don't know what to do. Is this G-pawn, man? I can't help moving it. It wants to go. I guess I retreat. Funny. Everything is so boned here. Oh no, I thought you trade. We're only +2, that's not so bad, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
other
bad.
than the fact that it's losing, it's not bad.
I'll take it. Get out of here.
Okay.
Oh, end games. I'm really bad at these, by the way.
So endgames are all about like conceptualizing an idea. So it's like in an endgame, since there's so few units left on the board, generally you try to figure out where can you put the pieces. What are the best squares that you can put the pieces on?
Middle. I'm gonna go towards the middle. That's probably a bad idea.
Well, I mean everything is losing here. I would win this 100% of the time, but yeah, it's you want your king and your knight more towards the side.
Oh no, the left side. Oh no. Oh no. It's too fast. Okay, no, it's fine. It's on a dark square. I think I'm okay. No. Okay. Whoops. Nah, you didn't see that. You didn't see that move. Doesn't really matter what I do. I guess my knight's
Yeah,
dead.
I mean, basically it doesn't matter, and the reason it doesn't matter is so this is why in endgames bishops are generally better than knights. So, okay, I'll just take this now. Is that basically bishops can attack from very far away, whereas knights can't attack.
Stop attacking me with your king.
Well, it's an endgame. So in endgames, kings actually become an attacking piece.
Yeah, I noticed.
Because when there's so few pieces on the board, you can't really attack the king easily the same way that you can earlier in the game.
I can't move anything. I'm just moving this pawn. It's protected now. Help! You had to think a bit on that one. I made you think. That's the win. And now you're just pre-moving everything, aren't you?
Kind of.
Run, pawns. I'm out of time soon.
Yeah.
Alright,
So
well, except for the. So which pawn should I push instead of that G pawn? 6 blunders.
oh, you should have moved your bishop back. I'll just invite you to the game quickly. Just invite you.
I almost had him, chat.
That game you had a very good position. That was the best position you've had out of all the games.
Not so bad.
Okay, so first thing, so if you're gonna play this what we call the Petroff Defense, the reason you can't take this pawn is because white moves the queen. So do you know what a discovered attack is?
You discover an attack.
Right. So let's say black moves the knight here.
Yes. And do
you see what white's next move is?
Yeah, he moves his knight somewhere just to give a check, right?
Right. So there's this move that wins the rook because your king is under attack.
Yeah.
But there's also another move that's even better.
Even better. Wow. This one that wins the queen.
Right. Yeah. So you move the knight here and you attack the king, and if the queen blocks, you just take with your knight.
Hmm?
So that's why if you're going to play this opening, you have to move this pawn first.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Because let's say you take and I go here and you push the pawn, I can still do the same thing. I can remove your knight with this pawn.
Okay, yeah, of course.
And if you move the knight, it's the same check. Any square you go to, same check, you lose.
Yeah, that's nasty. Yeah, that's pretty nasty.
So that's why you push the pawn first. And when my knight goes away, you can take the pawn.
Okay.
And now there's no knight here. So let's say white pushes the queen here to pin the knight and the king.
Yeah.
You can just move your queen here. And next move, let's say I push the pawn, you just move your knight back, and it's just going to be an even trade.
Yeah, that's okay, right?
And that's completely fine, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I moved my knight here. Now, the reason I moved my knight here was I was hoping you would take.
Nah. I mean, I guess it's kind of a bait because it's a double pawn thing, but you have that open line with your queen, I guess, right after. I took.
Well, actually, no, because then I hit
sorry.
the queen.
Yeah, you go.
So what I do is I just take, and the reason this is actually quite good is that basically now this bishop has all these squares to go to.
Oh, okay.
So even though I get the 2 pawns, it's very dangerous because I can move this bishop out. Let's say you move your knight, I'll move the queen, and you castle. I can castle this way, and the bishops are really strong here. There are going to be a lot of ideas down towards where your king is here on this king side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's why, yeah, that's why, like, on this knight move, this is actually technically the main variation that was played in the Chess World Championship 2 years ago. But what you did by pushing the pawn is completely fine too. And now I push this pawn, you develop your bishop, excellent move, putting pressure on the knight, right?
777.
So I go here,
Yep. Sorry.
castled, and here and here. And by the way, this is the thing I was going to say in this position is that if I were to take this knight, obviously you don't capture because then I just capture back.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-for-1. You lost a knight and a bishop, and you only got 1 bishop in return. You're -3.
Yeah, that's really bad.
But you can take this knight here with the pawn, and if I take the bishop, you can actually take this knight.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So that's why I castled. You played this.
Yeah.
All pretty good. You went here. Very good move. Here. This is fine. Probably what I would have done is actually move the queen out here and then tried to put both the rooks like this. But this was fine. Here. This was fine. And so what I said was there was a world champion probably in a game he played, I think it was about 90 years ago, where he was able to put all these 3 pieces in a row on the same line. So let's just say I make a random move here. I guess it's black move. Let's just say I make some random moves where if you get these 3 pieces on this line, it's very, very strong because white can never really play for this line. You completely control it for the whole game.
I see. But were they noobs like 9 years ago? Are people way better now?
Players are much better, but like it's not even so much about being better. It's about the concept and seeing the concept. Like that doesn't mean it's going to work. It's always going to win, but it's a very strong concept. And so it's just try to remember you can always if you put the 3 pieces on this line, you get your rooks and your queen on an open line. It's very strong.
Okay.
Now, one thing with chess, and this you'll see this in a second in this game as well, is that it's really powerful as you get that. But I can contest for the line because I can move the bishop and try to trade the rooks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even though you can try to get control, I can actually force this trade here, and you don't quite get what you want. Now, for example, let's just say you could get something like, let me just make a couple of random moves. If you were able to get this line where you get the queen in the back with the two rooks in front, it actually would be winning.
Yeah.
So if I move the bishop, you can just take, and you win a knight. You're up by 3 points. But in the game, as you'll notice, when I do this, it's actually, even if you get this position, let me make a random move, you're not actually going to be winning material because the queen is not in the back. So when you trade the rooks, if you take, you're going to lose your queen for a rook and a knight.
Yeah. Because
it's the queen and not the rook in front. So that's why what I'm able to do here is try to fight for this line because I can move this bishop and trade the rooks and get my rook to the open line. So I'm trying to contest for this file because it's the only open line in this position if you think about it. I mean, maybe I can put a rook here to attack, but black can just push a pawn.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's no attack. So the only line that really matters here is this open one. It's the only open file on the entire board.
Yeah.
So you go here, I go here. Played this move. Probably what you should have done, by the way, is put the queen here. So if I move the bishop, you can play rook here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually thinking about it. I didn't want the queen in the middle there. I kind of wanted her like in the back or something.
Right, because now the rook is like, now if I play rook here, you can actually just play an endgame. You can take. I have to take. If I were to take the bishop, you take the rook, right?
Yeah.
So I have to take the rook first. And now you can take. I take, and now you can trade. And this is actually very, very good for black because white has 2 sets of pawns like this.
Ah, okay.
And it's also, you have the same number of pawns. So in an endgame, what you want to think about is more the placement of your pieces rather than a specific sequence of moves. Because with only a bishop and a knight on the board, the threats that your opponent creates, it's going to be like, it's literally going to be one move threat, or they're trying to put their piece on the best squares.
Yeah.
So now let's think about this position. If your knight is not a great piece here, right? It's not attacking this pawn because my pawn supports it.
Yeah.
So, do you know what outposts are?
No.
Okay.
In Dota, but yeah. It's very different, I assume.
Okay, so like for example, I'm just gonna make a couple of moves here. It doesn't really matter what the moves are, but I'm just gonna do this. So this knight here, you see it's on this dark square.
Yeah.
Can I attack it with pawns?
No. Not right now.
Can I attack it with my bishop?
No, because it's light square bishop.
Right, it's the wrong color square.
But I would be really tempted to move the knight. Oh wait, if you move your bishop, right? I can move my knight to e2. Maybe?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, both squares. You have to be careful because there's a bishop right here. But the point is that if you get the knight here, it's an outpost. It can never be removed. Cool. Like I can try to do something like this even, just to make it more clear. But the knight can never be removed here. Because your king always guards the pawn always guards the knight. There's literally nothing I can do. The knight is going to be here for the entire game.
Yeah.
So an outpost is when you get a knight to a square where it can't be removed. And the knight just can't be removed here by anything.
That sounds good.
So now if we go back to this position, so now that you think about the knight, this knight's not really attacking this pawn, right?
No.
Because my pawn supports it. So you'd really like your knight on a better square where it can attack some of your opponent's forces.
Yeah.
So you need to like maneuver the knight. And the way you do this is move the knight here.
And then up, yeah.
Let's say I move my bishop here to prevent you from going this way. So the idea here was actually not to go to this square; it's to go a different route. So I'm wondering if you can find a way to put the knight on a better square here.
Okay.
So this is about maneuvering the knight to a square that makes the most sense instead of like an actual straightforward plan.
I see.
Because you have all the time in the world here. It's an endgame. It's a bishop and a knight and only pawns. So the threats your opponent can create are very limited.
Quiz time. Okay. I feel like at least what I want to do is move my pawn here, and then I can move my... That's wrong.
Now, one thing to remember is in an endgame which is very simplified like this, I only have a bishop. So normally you don't want to put the pawns of the same color as the bishop because the pawns can be attacked by the bishop.
Okay.
If the pawns are on the other color, like say the pawn is here, this bishop can never attack the pawns.
Yeah.
They're just on the wrong color. So the bishop doesn't have threats against your pawns.
True. I was just thinking of moving it there so I could move my knight to f5 or something eventually if I had my my thing here, but maybe
right. So actually, the idea that I want to see if you can find it's very hard is to bring this knight back here, and the point is that you can if you get the knight to this square, the knight is covering all these critical points.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sure. I can see that.
So now I'm just going to make a couple of moves just to see if you can figure out. So let's say we get to this bishop.
Yes.
The way that you can win this game here is to try and... So you can't really attack these pawns, right? These 3 pawns here on this side of the board. So what you want to do is try to attack over on the other side of the board.
Yeah. But my knight's in an awkward position now because it can't get...
Well, the knight's in a good position because you would like to bring it to these squares and attack all the pawns. But you can't because the bishop's covers these squares.
Yeah. But I don't want to trade bishop for knight, or...
If you could trade the knight for the bishop, you would, because in an endgame, if you have the same number of pawns, but your opponent has these pawns that are doubled, it's almost always winning. Okay. But the way that you would proceed here is to push this pawn. Okay, let's say I just move my king. Why did I push this pawn here?
Maybe to push the c pawn up here.
Okay, so now let's say I go back.
I could push the e pawn once as well if I wanted to, but I'm sure I can just push this pawn up once as well. Shove the bishop.
And when I go back,
now I push the e pawn. Maybe
you could do that, but remember, this is so simplified that you should be looking for for general.
Maybe this fork here.
Right, and you're hitting both of these pawns.
Yeah.
And you're gonna win at least one pawn, and with it, actually more, because if I move the bishop, let's say I move the king here, which pawn would you take?
I'll take this one.
You could, but actually, this pawn's never going anywhere. So what you would do is you would take this one, because you can always just come back and attack the pawn.
The one on the far right? Yeah,
it's always stuck here because it can never move.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you can also just run this pawn down the board. Yeah. And it's just a very straightforward win for black, because white cannot do anything. This bishop is terrible.
Yeah.
See how it can't attack any of these pawns, and you can always bring your knight back, and your knight can just jump all over the board and attack all of white's pawns.
That makes sense.
So that's how you would probably play this endgame and win. And then just the one last thing from this game.
I mean, I almost got there. It's close.
Yeah, you did. So in this position, this again.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's this attack on the pawn on h7, right?
Yeah.
With the knight and the queen. And you push the pawn, which of course allows me to trap the bishop.
Yeah.
So what other moves are there to stop this threat towards the pawn with the knight and the queen?
Let's think. I feel like I could move my bishop back here already. That is fine.
Yeah, it's the best move.
Okay.
Good. So because what you do is you attack the queen, but you also stop any attacks. But there's also the third point, which is that if you think about this bishop here on h5, it's not really attacking. But once you get the bishop back here, there's a new threat towards this pawn. On c2. And so at this point, this is already actually very good for black, because what you can do is you can start to try and attack all these queenside pawns by moving your knight. I'm just going to make a random move here. And I'm curious if you can spot the next move.
I am curious too, honestly. I mean, honestly, is it bad moving my knight here? And
this is fine. Yeah, this is completely
This is
fine.
fine.
The move that I was looking, this is actually a very reasonable move, by the way.
Okay.
The move I was looking for is this move.
Ah. Okay.
Because what you do is you create a double attack. Like you're attacking the
Yeah.
pawn on the light square with your bishop from very far away, but you're also attacking the pawn on the dark square as well.
True. Yeah.
So yeah. So this is what this is what I
Yeah.
would recommend.
I
But the
can see
main
it.
thing is that like here with one piece, with just your lone bishop, you stop the entire attack that white has with these two pieces.
Mhm.
So with one piece, you basically prevent all the attacks, and then you're free to use your knight and your queen in any way that you want to after that.
Yeah.
And then and after this, like it's just lost. But the main thing to remember is that if you get a bishop on the edge here, you always need to make sure you have a square to retreat to. 'Cause
Escape.
otherwise, if I can push the pawns like this and your bishop has no squares, then it's great because I win the bishop for free.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty bad.
So yeah, that's what I would say is just be aware when you move a bishop to the edge of the board. Make sure that if white tries to push a pawn, you're never getting your bishop where it has no squares. That's important.
Cool. I wonder how much of this
Yeah.
I will remember, but I hope something at least.
Yeah, I mean you have a pretty good grasp of the basic concepts, but I would say if you're going to play this opening though, it's well, I guess it doesn't matter right now because you're not playing. You actually let me ask. Maybe your chat would be interested. Do you have any interest in playing in Pog Champs?
In PogChamps? I don't know. Is that the tournament? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe it could be fun. How many games is it usually?
So I'm not 100% sure what the format will
I mean,
be.
I
but
might
probably
lose on
it's
the
gonna-
might lose on the first one, you know. So then it's not a lot of games.
Well, there probably are still going to be two brackets. Like there's probably going to be two brackets. So there will
Yeah.
be like a top bracket and also a bottom bracket. So like even if you play against people who are much better, you'll still have a shot in the bottom bracket. So there's going to be a Pog Champs too. So I was just kind of curious.
yeah, I mean, it could be fun actually. I mean, I might bet. Is your honest opinions? Do I have a chance?
Yes, you will. You will have a chance, definitely. Yeah, you will definitely have a chance. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I mean, then I could.
I mean,
do it.
I don't see. I don't. From seeing just this little bit, and comparing this to another Swede who played in the original, that being Nim, of course. There isn't a big difference, and the progress I saw from Nim where he was just doing a couple of lessons, and just sort of studying, like it wasn't something where he's doing like 24-hour streams like some other streamers were.
Yeah, I
for
saw
chess.
that. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not doing that. I think.
Yeah, no, that's insane. But like when I compare that to like Nim, for example, I would say you're about at the same level that I thought he was when he started PogChamps. And even though he didn't study, like he didn't go insane with it, by the end he was probably the most improved player, I would say, overall. So so definitely I think you would have a shot.
Okay. Now that's encouraging.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, you have a very good understanding. And the other thing, maybe this is just the Swedish guys or something, but I've noticed that like you don't seem to panic. Like even when we were playing the games, we were getting a little bit lower on the clock. You weren't panicking.
I mean, honestly, I wasn't even looking at the clock because I assumed you would give me more time if I ran out of time.
Okay.
I'd probably be panicking a little bit otherwise.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, definitely, you're not a complete beginner. I think if you study a little bit, I would say do the puzzles.
Okay.
So actually, just the one last thing I would recommend is if you click on this puzzles tab in the on the left hand side, you should see like home play puzzles.
I just see puzzle rush, puzzle battle. Am I missing? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
see
think
puzzle,
click on the puzzle rush.
Yeah. Puzzle rush. Sure. And then
click on the training. Instead of rush, click on the button on the far left, which is training.
Okay.
And then click instead of rated, click the learning.
Okay. Whoa,
And then you'll see on the right hand side, you see a whole list of these different themes of various things that you can study. And I would just select some of these themes and then just do puzzles like this.
Oh,
and
I see the gun.
That's
here
the
too.
quickest way.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
gun.
you see the gun. Yeah, you see the gun. Yeah, it's the fourth
X-ray
theme
attack.
there.
Zugzwang.
Yeah.
Funny names.
Yeah. So you can just like check the boxes and do puzzles that way. That's probably what I would recommend. Is the simplest way to just do the puzzles, because then you can focus on certain ones that you're not familiar with.
Okay. Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. All right. So just if you're interested in PogChamps, let me know. But either way, I hope that you enjoyed the lesson and just have fun with chess, man.
I learned a lot, man. I think my brain needs to hibernate after this a bit, and I think I'll be all right.
Right.
All right.
Good.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right.
Thanks for taking the time and all.
Yeah. All right.
See ya, man.
Bye.
Bye. Alright. That was fun, chat. I really am exhausted in my brain now, though. Am I supposed to be able to think after all this? I don't know how much I'll remember, honestly, but I feel like I learned a lot, dude. That was very informative. Very informative. I hope you guys had fun, too. I know it was a little bit more serious, maybe, than we played with Botas, but a little bit different. It's fun as well. Now I'm ready. I'm ready to beat Botas now. I don't even need an advantage. I have it all. I have the gun. I'm ready, dude. I saw she was here before. Don't tell her I said that. I'm not ready at all. I'm gonna get destroyed. I'm gonna get destroyed. Leaking? Oh, don't worry. It's just a Hikaru chat. It's not too bad. I can hide it now. Alright. Did you guys have fun doing that? I sure as hell felt a little bit embarrassed sometimes. But we got some praise. I don't know if he was just being nice to me. But he said I was decent, right? So that's okay. I haven't been practicing a lot, so that's good. My brain has potential. That's a good thing. He basically said I was Grandmaster, right? Like, that's what I heard. So that's good. It was fun watching it wrecked. Yeah, I mean, that guy could probably play me, like, play with his feet blindfolded upside down and beat the shit out of me. I had no chance, obviously, but... It was fun, at least. A little bit humbling, of course, but yeah. I mean, even Botas could destroy me. Everybody can destroy me in chess, guys. Sounds bad when I say even Botas, but you know what I mean.
Let me guess.
He's like on a completely different level. Alright. You guys want to know what I'm thinking about? I'm still thinking about that Void game I threw versus Miracle. Fucking hell, dude. I'll get over it someday. One day. At least Botas also wanted to play again, chat, but we said we'd... I don't know if she's streaming right now. I don't think she is. If she was, maybe we could have hit her up, but... If you wanted to play some poker against us, that would be fun too. Some poker and chess. That could be fun with a little bit of mixing it up a bit. From Dota. I knew it. Yeah. Thanks for all the subs, guys. Wait, give me a second. Thank you.
That's like you teaching some 1k MMR scrub teaching how to lane mid.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys learned something too. Sometimes it was a bit fast, dude. He had a lot of faith in me. Caesar Payne, thank you. Style Dota, Sleep Gaming. I don't think I can go back to Dota right now, man. Teach Hikaru Dota? I don't think he wants to. Anybody wants to learn Dota, dude. The only people that play Dota are the people addicted to that shit. Sure. I don't think Botas is on, so I guess we're not doing anything else today. Seems okay. A little bit different stream today. But tomorrow, same thing. We'll play some solo queue and all that. Yeah. I'll try to process the Miracle loss today. I'll be on again tomorrow. We'll see when we'll do some stream with Botas in the future. Maybe we'll do another Hikaru stream some point. If we're gonna play the tournament, we might have to. We'll see. It'll be fun. Okay, Extreme, thanks, man. Hikaru wants to try Dota? Oh boy. Okay, that could be fun. Oh boy. I mean, I'd be willing to play with him, of course.